So, hello out there in Packer Nation. Welcome to another edition of the Absolute Packer Podcast. We are on episode 95. Don't know what I'm going to call this episode yet, but we've been on a little bit of a hiatus just due to life, I would say. But we're back, and I think this. What? Let me take a step back and say where we're at. I guess number one. It's been a while. We got to get back on the horse, right? So I am Andrew Hetzel, and with me is Elliot Christensen.
Woo!
Yeah. Oh, you look like you have the peacock background. It's the green screen, but it
Well,
reminds me of like,
it won't be green. It'll be something wonderfully
oh,
Packers.
it's there for placement, and then you can dump something in there. I gotcha. I have, like I was telling you, we love Halloween here, so it's a little dark. That's because we put in red floodlights for the entire month of October. Me and my daughter, we love Halloween. So, anyway, without bouncing around too much, today is October the 11th. We've been out for most of the season. So what we're going to do is we'll try and do a recap, somewhat brief recap as to some of the happenings of the regular season thus far, and then second half, I think we can go over the Bengals game, which was one of the craziest football games, let alone NFL, let alone Packer, let alone NFL. It was one of the craziest football games I have ever seen in my life. So anyway, the season thus far, I would say that, going into or coming out of the offseason, I should say, everybody knows all the Rodgers stuff. We don't have to get into all that, the Rodgers drama. But reports from camp were that he looked otherworldly, like even better than what he did last year. He won the freaking league MVP. So, you're thinking, whoa, if he can be even better, that's something. It didn't play out that way the first week, as we know. The first week was one of the worst showings I've seen of an Aaron Rodgers. I think it was probably a top 5 worst performance for Aaron Rodgers in his career. I believe they got beat 38-3, and that was a very weird game. Obviously, it looks to be an anomaly. The team, the coaching staff, the janitors, the fortune tellers, the other hangers-on that were with the team didn't look prepared. They looked like they didn't get off the bus, and they got their butts absolutely handed to them. And, I don't know about you, but I had no idea what to think about that first game. But my first initial thought, going back, it's a little hazy, but was, okay, the drama, there's real drama going on behind the scenes. It's playing out because it was absolutely awful. But fast forward, I guess it's been like 4 or 5 weeks later, they've won 4 straight. And, I would say what's the best team they've played thus far? Would it be San Francisco? San Francisco, I think they've lost 3 games.
Well, that's why it's so hard.
It's early yet, it's early yet. That's part of the thing. It's like
the Bengals are good.
I think the Bengals are up and
Saints are
coming.
good.
The Bengals are up and coming. I don't think the Saints are nearly as good as they looked against us.
Well, they're not at 38-3.
No, there's no way, and that's why that game was just.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to that Saints game again, it's like Jameis Winston threw 5 touchdown passes against us.
Right.
If you would have, I would have never believed that.
No way.
I would have thought he might throw 5 picks, but he had no interceptions. 5 touch. It was just like, and the defense was absolutely awful. And we have a new defensive coordinator, so you're thinking, oh boy. And then the second game, Detroit, they didn't come out world beaters, but they did beat them at home, which was expected. I think Rodgers was a little more sharp, and the defense was still. The defense has gotten better. I will say that for sure. You can see improvement, but they were still pretty bad. And then they played. Was it San Francisco the next game?
Yep.
Yes. Sorry, my memory is hazy. I apologize. And that was a great game. Obviously high drama. Rodgers got the ball 37 seconds back, gets in position. Mason Crosby kicks the game-winning field goal. Defense was improved. Even in that game, I think they gave up was it 30-27 or something like that?
30-28. Yeah.
30-28.
Came down to the last.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. And then
Then the Steelers.
Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm like,
which I feel like the Packers kind of dominated that one. I really wish they would.
I do too.
Really,
I do too.
I really wish we could have put down the hurt, like won that one 38-3.
No kidding.
Made a
Because
statement,
Big
right?
Ben Roethlisberger had looked awful.
Right.
And the defense improved in that one as well. When the interesting thing, I don't know how often this happens. I could be wrong, but we played back-to-back AFC non-conference, non-common opponents in a row. Which, you beat who's in front of you, but in an interesting way. It's like if you lost to the Steelers and you lost to the Bengals, it's not good. But what does that do for your conference, let alone division standings? Not much. But again, you play who's in front of you. So the Bengals, to your point, I agree they are an up and coming team. Burrow is going to be good. He still needs help around him, but they got that Jamar Chase, that wide receiver they have.
That was crazy. He was so good.
He is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that, the Packers have been very healthy under Matt LaFleur, team health-wise, and it's catching up to them now. They basically escaped any major injuries for most of his 2 years, if not all of his 2 years, except for David Bakhtiari late last year.
But there's a few injuries right now.
No, that's what I was
okay.
lean into is that they have a lot of injuries right now. Now, are they all catastrophic injuries to starters? No, but they were down in this Bengals game. They were down to Darius Smith, MVS, wide receiver. David Bakhtiari is obviously out. Josh Myers, rookie center, was out. Elton Jenkins was out. They were down. I already mentioned this, right? Did I? Is that the first one I mentioned? Like I said, my brain's kind of mush. But they have a lot of injuries. And then they lost Kevin King in the game.
Right.
So they were down to that new corner, Yadam or
whatever. And Jaire Alexander.
How did I miss that?
Jeez, to me, that's the big one.
No, I agree. I would say in order of on the defense, I think the number one guy you cannot afford to lose is Jaire Alexander.
Yeah.
I think number two would probably be Kenny Clark.
Right.
And then number three would be the pass rusher like Darius Smith. So they've lost two defensive players, and the defense is getting better. They're holding their own.
I felt, knowing that. So I was a little down on it during the game, but then
the defense.
I was the whole thing. I was like, we should have been able to put these guys away a little more.
Oh, the Packers did everything they could to give that game away,
but
more so on offense.
But then afterwards, I saw somebody post keep in mind, we had all these injuries. I'm like, yeah, that is true. When you see it all printed out, like
they say, you can't use injuries as an excuse, but that's
but those were key injuries, especially in defense, and it's like, that was the fact that
they were missing. I think 2 All-Pros and a Pro Bowler. The 2 All-Pros were Jaire and Bakhtiari, and the Pro Bowler was Darius Smith. So
you can't use injuries as an excuse because every team.
Well, that's a bunch of crap, is what I'm saying.
But,
of course, you can.
Keep in mind when Aaron Rodgers is injured, that's the end of the season.
Well, exactly. No, you're exactly right. I mean, look, we say we can't afford to lose X, Y, and Z, and it's like Rodgers is the linchpin to all sides of the ball. And it's a whole franchise.
Or if Adams, I think that.
Well, he's been hurt, and they've won without him.
I know.
They're like 6-0 without him under LaFleur.
I just can't see that right now, though.
No, I agree with that. He is playing out of his mind. And
they keep feeding it to him. Double team doesn't matter. And I would too. I'm like, make them stop him.
Oh, I know. Rodgers made a comment. He said Davante Adams is approaching Charles Woodson status, where he said the best player he's ever played with was Charles Woodson. And he said Davante Adams is basically the next closest player he's played with on that level, where it's just it doesn't matter who you play against, who's across the line from him.
Yeah.
He's usually the best player on the field. Or the top two, you know what I mean?
Right.
Regardless. And that's pretty high praise, obviously.
That is,
Charles Woodson is, goes without saying.
He's right up there, man. Like, he's really...
Charles Woodson.
Yeah. Well, Woodson's he's a goat.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite.
Absolutely.
I like to say, like, I don't want to bounce around too much, but we probably will do some bouncing around. It's been a while, so just let it happen. I look at like eras of Packers. You have Ron Wolf era Packers, as I like to say them,
right?
And then Ted era Packers. My favorite, just since we're talking about it, my favorite Ted era Packers, and that includes, I think, going even into Brian Gutekunst, because Brian Gutekunst is kind of like a disciple of Ted. So I'm gonna collectively throw that in there. But Charles Woodson is one of them. Nick Collins is one of them, and also Desmond Bishop, even though he was very, very short tenure because he got hurt, and then his career was kind of over. But those three, and they're all three defensive players, which is interesting. But I love those guys for sure. Nick Collins was, that was because with Woodson, they let him go too early. They didn't want to pay him, is what it is. So they were being kind of cheap on him. But Bishop and Collins both got derailed because of basically career-ending injuries. And that's with those. Yeah. And we forget. I mean, when you look at like Ted drafted Devontae, it's like Gutekunst has a couple players he's drafted that are turning out to be really, really good. Jaire Alexander is probably his best draft pick, and that was his first draft pick. First ever draft pick was Jaire Alexander. And I would say Elton Jenkins is probably his second best. And then he's had, some pretty good ones in there in between. But anyway, that was a little tangent. But so, yeah, the Packers are 4-1. They're injured. I think they're going to get a little more healthy. And they played some non-conference opponents, which, like I said, in the scheme of things, it's like, you want to beat us across from you, but they wouldn't have been catastrophic if they lost. It would have been worse if you lost players to injury. And as it turns out, I mean, Alexander, we lost him in the Steeler game. But, I mean, injury rate in football is 100%, and you can get injured on every play, so it kind of is what it is. But let's hope that they can get Elton Jenkins back pretty soon. The offensive line has played outstanding when you think about it. They've been down 3 starters for a while now, and, I mean, holding up great. Are they giving them some of these guys help here and there? Sure. But all things considered, I remember it in the McCarthy days, if one offensive line starter went out, it was like the end of it. Or if one offensive line starter wasn't playing up to his snuff, it would ruin the offense for that day, especially later in his tenure. So it's good to see the depth on the offensive line and that it's not derailing the offense.
So just quick sidebar in that. What do you think about how the Cowboys are doing?
I think they're looking pretty good. I think they're good in spite of McCarthy.
Because they're 4-1 too right now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like
the only undefeated team left is the Cardinals, and they look pretty darn good.
That's nuts.
I think the Cowboys have a rookie cornerback who is playing like out of this world. They're saying he's like in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He's a rookie cornerback, which is pretty rare.
I only watched like part of one Cowboys game. I didn't watch last week at all. So,
I mean, to be fair to McCarthy, in some respects, he lost. I almost said Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott. He lost him early last year. If you lose your starting quarterback,
sure.
Obviously that's not good at all.
Yeah.
But I tend to think that Dallas is. I can't see if McCarthy. The reason they would get over that, like, is he an asset or a liability? It's like I see him as more of a boat anchor than a propeller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other day, like they were talking about, his clock management is no better than it was with the Packers. And he takes goofy timeouts, and he doesn't know how to manage in game still, even though he has his own off. He's not calling plays.
Right.
There he's actually got an offensive coordinator, but it's like his game management is still kind of questionable. But whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think the Cowboys are good. The Cowboys are kind of.
I mean, I still feel like they have an easy division. So.
Yeah, they have the freaking Giants, the Redskins, and the Eagles.
Right.
I don't know. There's some crappy teams out there for sure. Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right.
Could you imagine being a fan of that team?
Well, I saw a thing. There were the 4 teams. There were the Giants, the Jets, the Jaguars, and the Lions.
It's like
As bad as you think you have it, imagine that being a fan of any of these teams.
And they just the Jaguars, that owner, he has no idea what he's doing. He wants to bring in big names. He wants to just bring in big names, whether it's players in the field or coaches. Urban Meyer, when they hired him, I'm like, if you think Urban Meyer's going to get you over the top, you're delusional. And then, as it turns out, he's a dirty old man, in addition to everything else. But it's, in a way, I feel bad for these fans because it's like, you want so badly to, like, as a fan, be like, okay, I can enjoy my team, but it's like, how in the world, particularly with, I would say more with the Jets, Redskins, and Jacksonville, it's like, there's no hope. If you go 8-8, it's like the best thing ever. It's like the Packers of the 70s.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, the 80s was, it seems like a distant memory to a lot of Packer fans, but.
Oh, it'll come. Probably next year, right?
I mean, we talked about that not too long ago. Like, what happens when?
Well, not everything's. Nothing lasts forever.
Right.
If we're gonna go back to some jokes in my capitalism, capitalism is capitalism. Hey, capitalism is predicated on never-ending growth, and that is a mathematical impossibility. You can't have infinite growth, and so with the Packers, you can't have infinite, sustained quarterback play for the end of time. At some point, you need to hand the plebeians Medicare for all. No. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see if I get a rise out of you.
Nobody tunes in to hear your economic theory.
This is true. If they are, then we're in trouble. So yeah, I threw myself under the bus. Okay. So yeah, like I said, we could go on and on about the season. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but one injury, the defense. Getting better, I think, is a pleasant surprise. Because, man, after that first game, I was beside myself. I was like, what? I was like, the offense was horrible, the defense was horrible, special teams was horrible. Then the defense was bad again. But now they've slowly improved. They've even gotten through injuries, which is a good thing to see, obviously. Rodgers and the offense, I think, is starting to kind of pick itself up. But they're dealing with injuries. They got 3 of 5 starters on the offensive line that are out. MVS, who's their number 2 wide receiver, is out. It's not helping. But on defense, the one thing that caught my eye the other day, this was crazy, and I don't know how this stands like all time, but like they listen to this. So there's the opponents have gotten to the red zone against our defense this year so far. They've gotten into our red zone 17 times. The Packers in those 17 trips have given up 17 touchdowns, not 17 scores, like field goals. Yeah. Mix of field goals and touchdowns. They've given up 17 touchdowns.
Yeah. I made some of them look too easy. Yeah. That
is, I thought it was a misprint. That's got to be like nearing all-time bad. I don't even know what else to say.
Yeah, it's not a good. It's not a good.
And then the offense in the red zone is not very good. They were great last year, but this year our offense is like sputtering. I think we can just kind of hop right into the Bengals game.
Sure.
Which I said, just as a fan of football and just a fan of watching a good game, period, one of the most entertaining games I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, high drama. The last 10 minutes in real time was absolutely lunatic.
I got to pull out your quote that you put into the Slack. It was, he said, this is an absolutely stunning game. It's going to go down as an all-timer in terms of NFL lore.
I think it will.
I think you're right.
Because of the ineptitude of kicking.
It was nuts.
It was 5 missed field goals in like 10 minutes.
And, I mean, it wasn't...
It was hot potato with trying to win the game. It was like, you want to win the game.
Really, but it's not like the weather was crazy. It wasn't. It wasn't super windy.
No.
I mean, I don't think it was no wind, but
there was a little bit. I mean,
it was crazy.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I mean, on one of the missed field goals, it doinked.
Yeah.
For the Bengals kicker.
Yeah.
When I was watching that thing, I was like, and then I saw it doink, and I'm like, oh my god, it doinked. And then he missed another one where he hit the little flag on the top.
Yeah.
You see that? He thought he made it.
Yeah.
He's celebrating.
Yeah.
He thought he made that kick.
It was unbelievable.
And then Crosby hadn't missed a field goal in 2 years. He missed 4 kicks in that game, 3 field goals and an extra point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, it's like, I don't know what you say about Crosby's been fantastic for most of his career. Now we know how you feel about that. Elliot, I should preface it. Elliot thinks that Mason Crosby deserves to work for free.
Well, he's in the top 4 guys. I just feel like
you can blame on Ted, and Brian Gutekunst's kind of carrying that over because Ted is so loyal and was so loyal to his guys. I mean, look, it is patently obvious. I think it was 2012. What year was it where Crosby was horrible? He had one. I think it was 2012. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is, I mean, obviously he had struggles the other day, but I guarantee you, and 31 other NFL teams would have cut him.
Oh,
he wouldn't have survived any other team.
I know.
No chance. It wouldn't have happened. But in the Packers, he did. And I mean, am I kind of happy about that? Yeah, because he started being great. But it just goes to show it's like there's no way they would have let him survive after that in any other team. Only the Packers. So it's weird how that kind of plays out. But yeah, and I noticed all his kicks, every one of them missed left. Every one of them. He didn't push anything right, the extra point, and all 3 field goals he missed were to the left. It was like, missing the extra point to the left, it's like that's one thing. Missing a field goal to the left, that's another thing. But it's like when he missed a 3rd kick to the left, I'm like, buddy, you got to start, you're going to have to start compensating for everything going left. And it looks like he wasn't, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, easy. But
at that point, it's all
for me to say. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know it's all here.
And I think part of it is you don't want to get into your own head and you want to just do your thing because you're like, no, I've done this a million times. I'm just going to do my thing.
Kicking to me, and I mean, I've never really done it. I'm not going to pretend like I have, but
right.
From just like a casual fan looking at it and the psyche and the overall sensibilities of kickers and that whole operation and whatnot, reminds me of a golfer. It's like if you get shanks, or if you get, and it's so mental that, it can be, if it gets in your head, like you said, you'll see great golfers every now and then, they'll get the shanks, and you're like, what in the world? And it's just, it's a weird condition, but it's all mental. All mental. So,
oh, totally.
Now, he nailed the game winner right down the middle.
I know.
It was like a 49-yarder. I think he nailed it right down the middle, and you're like,
right.
But that was, like I said, the Packers pissed that game away. They ended up winning it, but they should have won that game by at least 10 points, in my opinion. And they were, I mean, they damn near lost it a bunch of times, but so did the Bengals too. So I
think
miracle
Bengals
game to
are
win,
better than they get credit for. And
yes, they're an up-and-coming team. They're an up-and-coming team. Burrow, I think, is going to be really good. I do.
Yeah, and it was there. It was a home game for them.
There's been crazy games against the Bengals in recent memory, particularly with Rodgers. I think he's thrown. I don't think he had beaten the Bengals in his career, if my memory serves me correct.
I didn't know that.
I don't. You might have to look that up, but I don't think he's beaten them.
Wow.
And I think he's thrown a pick 6 against them, which obviously I think he's only thrown 2 or 3 in his career. 2 of them have been against Tampa Bay.
Oh wow!
I know that.
Wow.
Because he's only had like 1 or I think 2 or 3 pick 6s in his entire career, which is an absurd stat. Brett Favre threw 3 pick 6s.
Since you woke up for breakfast.
That guy, it to go from Favre to him in terms of turning the ball over is just crazy. But that was. I mean, I kept thinking like when it was about to go into overtime, when Crosby missed the field goal, basically to go up, and then they went down the field and they were going to kick it to win, and that's when that guy missed. But when Crosby missed that first field goal basically towards the end of regulation,
we all thought it was over.
I was like, we're going to lose. Yeah. I did not see the defense. I was like, they might keep him out of the end zone, but they'll get in field goal range.
Right.
And they'll make it.
Right.
And lo and behold, they didn't. And then, boy, obviously we got all those missed field goals, but what was Manning? So Burrow throws that interception to Devondre Campbell, our inside linebacker, where there wasn't anybody within almost 20 yards of that guy. It seemed.
I know.
He like threw it over the middle, and you
Yeah.
could tell when he did it. He looked like he was throwing it like he was throwing a can of soda in a trash can or something.
Yeah.
Like, he just popped it up there, and Campbell's like, "All right." And when that happened, I was like, "Okay, this game's over." And then the Packers on the next two offensive plays, they lost 8 yards.
I know.
And then Crosby missed it.
Yeah.
And so obviously we got another chance, but it was also,
So,
I got to
you
say,
know what?
crazy.
That brings up
Very entertaining game, though. Very entertaining.
I know obviously you don't have the answer, but I want to know why the kick and the field goal on the third down happened, and why they don't get to kick it again.
Okay, that's a very good question, because in the Slack, when I saw that, I was under the impression that he could get another spot at it.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, I think the only way you get another go at it, that's where the rules get weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not terribly privy to that. I thought I heard somebody say something to the effect of, not heard, I didn't hear it, but I saw it online or something where it was like, if there's a miss, something with the snap or something, you can down it or something like that. Some kind of technicality that would allow you to do it.
Okay.
But it's only if there's like a bad snap. Okay. So when he kicked it and he missed it, I was like, oh, they get fourth down. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, they don't. And the reason I think LaFleur did it was I think he was trying to tell Crosby, I still have faith in you. So I'm going to put you out there on third. I'm going to put you out there on third down.
Right.
That's the only logical explanation to me, which I get. Now, here's the funny thing. It's like I heard somebody talking. They're like, oh, when Crosby had missed his fourth kick, and they're sending him out there for the game winner, he said LaFleur called him over and said, how you feeling? And he goes, I'm going to make it. And then LaFleur goes, well, I felt great, so I sent him out there. And it's like, when you hear those little anecdotes like that, I'm going, what is he supposed to say?
Well, he's not going to say, well, I don't think I'm going to make it this time, Coach.
Exactly. And what is LaFleur going to say? He's going to be like, he's going to be like, sit. Yeah. Like, oh, you think you can make it? Sit your ass down. It's so, those little, they're supposed to be like these little feel good things. And it's like, please, this is, I'm reminded of, what movie I watched the other day, I hadn't seen it in a while, was, I went down this YouTube rabbit hole the last few days. Airplane disasters. I don't know why, but I was like, I went down and found this channel, and I'm fascinated by the engineering, but it's also scary. It's this weird kind of thing, right? But I'm reminded of the first one that came up was that Sully, who landed in the Hudson River, right? A few years ago, and he was in the courtroom scene. They're going over all this stuff, and he stops everybody and he goes, "Can we get serious now?" And that's kind of like what I was talking about when I hear them say, when you hear this coach speaker say, "Oh, I can make it," I go, "Can we get serious now?"
Well,
what do you think he's going to say?
I feel that way about half of every press conference any football player or coach ever does.
Yeah, 80% is just kind of,
it's like, why are you asking that question? Why are you answering that question?
But I always do go back to, it's like, what is he supposed to say?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's just a thing.
But I will give credit where credit's due, because I was under the impression, now when I saw that, so Rodgers threw that, he was falling away. He had a guy in his face right here on his helmet, and he got enough on the ball to get it to Randall Cobb on 3rd and 16. And the yellow line that was on the TV made it look like he got a first down. And I was like, oh, now they're going to be able to get it. But it turns out it was the unofficial line, so it was a yard off.
Right.
And then it was 4th down. And at that point, Crosby had already missed his 4th kick of the day. And I'm saying 4 because he missed the extra point. 3 field goals, 1 extra point. And I was going, you better go for it on 4th down. And when they did bring Crosby back out there, part of me was like, it's one of those things that's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm like, if you send him out there and he missed that kick, forget it. But he made it, so it's all great. But it's like, people would skewer you for not going for it on 4th, and because it was like 4th and half a yard. it wasn't like fourth and even a yard.
I mean, I almost feel like you should always go for it on fourth and short.
I think I tend to agree. It's like, and what you're seeing in the NFL, particularly with these younger coaches, is they go for it on fourth down way more. Even 10 years ago, if somebody went for it on fourth down, you're like, whoa, and now you're almost like,
it seems like it's a bit. The stats bear it out.
Yeah, and if you go over the 50-yard line into the opponent's territory, it's like a 50-50 shot,
right?
That they go for it on fourth down, right?
Right.
Especially if it's like 4th and 1. It's one thing if it's like 4th and 5, but if it's 4th and 1, it's like
right.
I'm almost If that's my thinking, if we get over the 50-yard line, of the opponent, and if we get to a 4th and 1, it's like I'm shocked if we don't go for it.
Yeah, I mean I get it was overtime, and I get that we had to get Crosby on straight, so it probably
and at that point it's almost like it's like he'd missed 4 kicks. You're in overtime for Pete's sakes.
Yep.
And I really did wonder after a while. It's like you don't want that game to end in a tie. That sucks. That's awful for everybody. But it's also I never really thought about this when you until the end of the game. But it's like players play for 4 quarters and they're already beat up enough as it is. So when you play a full extra quarter, that's basically the equivalent of a quarter of another game. So your body is beat up that much more. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about all that kind of stuff and how all that stuff plays out. And you almost want them to be like, look, we can't even chance this with this kicker's missed all these. We're going to go for it. So part of me was thinking that too. It's like, I think some of these coaches are like, we can't go into, a second overtime or we don't want to tie. Kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't do a second overtime anymore.
That's right. What do they do? They just trade back.
It's a tie.
Oh, that's right.
If the quarter ends, if the overtime quarter ends, it's over.
I answered my own question when I said it's a tie.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I was thinking.
Well, they changed the rule a while back.
Yeah, I was thinking of college too.
This is so like Max hasn't cared about football, and Max the other day, because we brought him to a game, and so he got a little more interested, and he's just like, so what is happening? And I'm like, well, get the glove.
Yeah, really. Like, did he catch the ball? Get out the rule book. I cannot believe that nonsense that they can't even tell what a catch is anymore. And everything
that's got to be fixed. That's got to be fixed. And like I've been saying, like I don't know. I mean, I said
you don't have to fix everything, but I think you have to fix what is and what is not a catch.
Exactly.
You have to.
Yes.
Number one.
Yes.
And then
yes.
That is like number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C.
Well, and then also what is and what isn't pass interference.
That was my next. Yeah.
Right now, it's completely random.
Yeah. It is.
If there's a pass and there's a defender, it's 50-50.
Oh, I agree. That's what it seems like.
And there's no rhyme or reason.
Well, it's just to get more offense, obviously. That's a business decision.
It's crazy.
Why they made that changes for all the offense? Because people do I kind of understand some?
I understand why there's why they want to be aggressive on calling it.
Destroys the game, though. But it really does.
But it has to be consistent. If they change the rule, it just needs to be consistent. No, and everybody understands. I mean, there's probably some wackos that are like, no, just let everybody kill each other. But like, I think everybody wants safety, but you have to be consistent. The players want consistency. I mean, for safety, you want consistency.
I agree. I agree what you're saying. I also think of, I want consistency and I do want safety, but at the same time, if consistency means throwing a ton of flags, I'm not a fan of that. I hate it. Right. I don't know if you know what I mean. So it's like,
but I think the consistency
what I'm getting at is it's like, that was pass interference. Yeah, that was 2. Yeah, that was 2. And it's like, wait a minute, this past drive, there were 16 flags. Obviously I'm going over the edge there, but it's like, it screws up the whole game. It's like you're doing something in the essence of the game, even if you're being consistent calling this, but it's like, this game we had.
But I think if it was consistent game to game, not just even within the game, because you get the group of officials, and
I get that.
They try to be consistent within themselves, but like if I'm sorry, we have the technology, we can get this stuff with sensors now. There's really no reason for it to be subjective at all. Any of
I mean, I don't want to get on my high horse and be the old man that yells at cloud, but I'm leery of that almost just from like the idea of it. I get it, get it, but I'm like, ugh, it's like it's just weird, and maybe it's just I'm not trying to be like a cop out on that, but
yeah. Well, I mean that it has to get there because they want the rules because of safety. So I don't see another way. Like it's chaos right now, and they're losing.
It is way too. And it's funny when they'll bring on like Mike Pereira or these other former officials. And they're like, oh, that's clearly this. And then when it's yeah, I know that Blandino. Blandino's the other one. It's Pereira and Blandino. They'll bring him on, and it's like. He's like, it's clearly this, and then they overturn it or whatever. Right. And that's just such a bad look for the league,
Right? I mean, and they've looked at it from 3 different angles, and so have the officials on the field, and it's like, this guy says this guy says this. What?
The best phrase is like that you hear is, did he make a football move? That phrase is like, because there was one, I was watching, it was a Packer game, I think, and I can't remember what team it was this year. Guy catches the ball. He's going down. He's catching the ball. The ball hits the ground. His hands are around it, but the ball hits the ground and it moves. He's still holding on to it, but it moves. I'm like, that's an incomplete pass. You have to cradle that ball. It can't hit the ground even if you have your hands around it. And they called it a complete pass. And I was like, that one I was like totally flabbergasted at.
They
were like, they kept bringing like, he made a football move. I'm like, he made a football move having it touch the ground? I'm like, how is that a football move?
But see, I feel like their sensors would solve so much of that. We would know if the ball hit the ground.
Shot collars.
No, but I mean,
I'm kidding.
Sensors in their helmets, sensors in their pads, sensors in the ball, sensors on the field, done. We'd know based on impact if it was helmet to helmet. We'd know if it hit the ground.
Yeah, the safety concerns definitely like the helmet.
That's the whole deal. The whole deal on almost all this stuff is safety.
When you see, no, you're right, and like they miss blatant helmet to helmets here and there, and then they'll say like, oh, you made a football that bring off a football move.
Yeah,
I love that. Is like the ultimate cop out,
right? And like out of bounds, is it out of bounds or not? Well, I mean, you could mathematically know, is the ball out of bounds or not, and make that the rule. Who cares about their feet? Is the ball?
I read somewhere else too that the NFL. I think Rodgers actually made this comment on Pat McAfee's podcast because McAfee asked him, he goes, "How can you make the officiating better?" And he kind of said passive aggressively, which is that's what Rodgers does with everything. He said, the refs don't get paid enough. They're like part-timers.
Well, that is also true too. We talked about that before.
And college refs are professional.
Yeah.
They're full-time professional refs, and in the NFL they're not. And that is crazy that they do that. And part of me is like in some nihilistic,
we'll see if that evens out.
Way. It's like,
we'll see if that evens out when they have to start paying the college athletes.
No, I get that, but even without that, it's like in this day and age, why would they not have professional refs in a league, a professional league?
Where millions and millions of dollars is on the line.
Billions. It's not even millions. It's billions. It's just like
it is.
I don't know. Whatever. But yeah. So the Packers are 4-1. They're beat up, but they're. I mean, you can't argue with 4-1. They're one game behind the Cardinals, tied with I think the Cowboys. The Bears, I think, are actually 3-2. That really snuck up on me.
Yeah.
And that's the next game coming up. So I think that's going to be in Chicago.
Yeah, that's a big game.
I mean, again, look, here's the thing. It's like, I'm trying to think of there's no team right now, where I'm like, they can just roll out just basically show up and win. I used to think the Chiefs, but no, they can't. I used to think the Bucks. The Bucks are probably the best team overall, but they still can't just roll it out there and win. There's no team out there that can just roll it out and win.
No.
So,
and that's what you want. So I think
exactly. You want parity, right?
Yeah,
you want
it's
parity.
Great.
Yeah, I do. You don't want to have. I mean, Kansas City. Do they have a losing record?
I just had a. Oh my! Yeah, they do. 2-3.
That is mad.
They're at the bottom of the division.
I mean, that's not going to last, but it is.
No,
I'll
it's
tell you
not.
what.
It's not. But
They
I mean,
I'll tell you what.
like
The
Denver's
Bills,
ahead of them.
the Bills are the real deal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They look good. They look really good.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what Kansas City's schedule looked like. Like, did they play all the
I
tough
don't
games
either.
early? Because they played Buffalo,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, they probably had tough games early. So
Yeah. No, to your point. I mean, look outside of the Packers. I really don't know. And some of the NFC North. I don't really know anything else about the rest of the league that much.
yeah. Well, I hate that Minnesota keeps winning. Oh, I mean, I guess they didn't keep winning. They've won 2. I just want them. I just want them
2 and 3.
Yeah, they're 2 and 3. I just want them to be. I just want them to lose every game. I just want them to.
Now the Lions are winless. Right?
They're 0-5. Yeah.
You talk about another team I feel bad for. It's like
I know, but they kind of knew that though. They knew they were entering rebuild phase, So they
get rid of Stafford, and
Yeah.
like, the Rams are like a top 2 team.
well, that's got to sting a little bit, but they kind of knew that. So
But it's just such a sad state where it's like you knew how talented Stafford is, and then he goes somewhere where they have a halfway decent team and a halfway competent ownership group and all that. And it's like, look what happens.
Yeah.
It's just such an indictment on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good for him. Like, I kind of feel like.
Oh, I know. And I mean, look, he went to UGA, man.
Every year, I'd be like, I don't know, Detroit, they got Stafford. Every year, I would say that, and they would combust.
Well, I think a lot with that, and it's like, I think I'm not saying he's as talented as Rodgers, but I do wonder, like,
he's really
up
good.
there. He's very talented, and
they just
so that must mean that the rest of his team was just god awful, just absolutely god awful. Because look, if Rodgers is off, the Packers are not good. We know that. But I don't think they're the Detroit Lions.
I don't know.
In terms of roster. I don't think they're the Lions in terms of roster.
No.
I'm not saying they're way better, but I don't think they're that bad.
No, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's clear right now. Yeah.
And it's just we would feel for you feel for the fans of Detroit and teams like that. And it's just But and then like the Cardinals. I mean, they're 5-0. I feel I'm happy for them. They've been kind of up and coming.
It's really good now. Like seeing the turnover in the charts. I'm just looking at the standings right now.
Yeah, I mean, how long had Buffalo been awful?
Yeah,
and now they're really turning around. They're a legit Super Bowl contending team.
And like the whole division, like Pittsburgh lost to us kind of bad, but like they're still in the hunt in their division. And with the Bengals and
man, he looks like he's held together with duct tape.
I don't know why he didn't retire last year.
God,
like, I mean, I say that, but it's like, well, how many millions did he get? I don't know.
I saw some clips of him in like the week of the game that he played, that the Steelers played before they played us, and they were like, Elliot, there was a pass. He's rolling out in the flat. He's like going lateral, and he literally throws this little screen pass, and as he makes a throw, he falls down like he got shot in the back, and there's nobody.
I know.
There's nobody within 8 yards of him, and it was like, I got to show you this clip. I saw it, I'm like,
I think,
and somebody goes, the 40-yard line tackled him.
But I think he's been doing that because I think he doesn't want to get hit.
But Elliot, there wasn't anybody within at least 5 or 6 yards of him. He literally just like. It was like his legs were like, I can't stand up anymore. I'm down.
I don't know.
Yeah,
so crazy.
He's like, remember in his prime?
Yeah.
Like he was so slippery. He never looked athletic. You're like this lumbering mess, but he would always slip out of sacks and he would run. He was like just a slightly more athletic version of me is what it felt like back there, because he was not fast. He was not graceful, but he could throw from any angle. He could escape, and it was just weird to see that. But
for sure.
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but yeah, he's done. He's done.
Yeah, he should hang it up.
Yeah, that's kind of a cautionary tale of if you hold on to somebody too long, right? And a lot of people said he was done last year, so you could say it's 2 years too long.
But they're still in the hunt.
Oh yeah, I mean it's still early yet.
Yeah.
It's still early yet.
Well, I think it's weird because like I'm on the Yahoo Sports app and it's like they have standings, and you can click on the playoff standings, and it's like, really, we're not even halfway through the season.
Oh, they got to get clicks, baby.
Yeah.
It's all just talk radio.
Yeah. Well, we're number 4. Arizona, Dallas. Dallas ranks ahead of us for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, for power ranking?
Yeah. And then Tampa, then us. Yeah. Probably because we allow too many points.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's problems with the defense. The red zone defense, I don't know what you do to fix it. Because it's not like it's 17 trips, 17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's like,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, you'd figure they'd just like stumble on something, and that's bad. I don't know how you fix that.
But on the other hand, that is something, if they tighten that up a little bit, they could be kind of unstoppable too. So
that's true.
You know,
that's true. They can clamp down the red zone. Because here's the thing, they have materially improved.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I feel like the secondary, they're getting picks, and they're getting some pressure on the quarterback once in a while. Stokes is great.
He looks like the real.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, he's a bulldog.
Oh yeah.
By the way, did you see that UGA is number 1?
No, I don't pay attention
in college football.
No.
Alabama lost the first time in like 2 years.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
And UGA is the new number 1, and
wow.
I think they might actually deserve it. Elliot, they beat.
Wow.
I don't follow them a ton, but I did see they beat. I can't remember who they played last week, but 2 weeks before they played Arkansas, and then they played Vanderbilt, both SEC teams, right? They beat Arkansas, or Vanderbilt, one of those two, 60-0.
Oh yeah.
And then they beat one of the other teams like 37-0.
Yeah, I heard about.
So they Elliot back-to-back SEC games, and they shut them out.
That's crazy.
That is, I mean, even for like that's unheard of.
Right.
So UGA really might be. I mean, don't worry, they'll break my heart later at some point. But for right now, they look. I was looking at some of their stats and some what's going on. It's like they are. So anyway, Stokes is he looks like the real deal. I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
He's fast as all hell, which obviously helps. But the one thing I noticed about him is that he's not the surest tackler. And if he kind of he missed a guy where he kind of just swiped at feet, and in the NFL you can't be grabbing at ankles and crap like that, I think. But he should get better. He's got really sticky coverage. He's got great makeup speed, and he seems pretty confident. And I'll tell you what, that has got to be one of the hardest positions to be thrown into as a rookie in the NFL, especially today with how the offense, it's all offense. You can't do anything as a defensive back. It's like,
for sure,
it's got to be hard as hell.
Yeah.
So I really, really like it. I mean, if they didn't have him and Jaire was hurt, I think they would be in deep, deep trouble. I think they're still going to be looking for a cornerback. So Jaire Alexander went on short-term IR for 3 weeks, which not terribly surprising. I just hope he has an AC joint injury, which I think that's like the cartilage, like by where the clavicle connects to the shoulder or something like that. But obviously, I mean, short-term IR, that's good. Obviously, let's just hope that that's minimum 3 weeks. Knowing the Packers will probably be out like 5 weeks. But if they can get him back and they're still humming, that'll be great. What I was going to say about him, though, is like this is like the blessing and the curse with him, because he is a fantastic all-around cornerback. He tackles.
Absolutely.
He's aggressive. He's fast. He hurt himself tackling. And it's somebody made a comment, like, because he came shooting in. That was a 4th down play I think he made on the Steelers. Came shooting in and threw himself at that guy. And that's when he hurt himself. And they actually, I think they tell cornerbacks not to do that because they'll hurt themselves. Their body makeup, they're so lean that they can't, you know what I mean? They can't punish themselves that way. And that's what happened, is he came shooting in like a rocket and he hurt himself.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like they don't want him doing that. They don't want cornerbacks doing that because even though they're making a play, they can hurt themselves. Deion Sanders was famous for he never did any of that. Yeah. He would break up passes. and he would like tackle guys here and there. But it was like Dion even said he's like I never threw my body around. So I hurt myself.
Yeah.
He was so good.
He's got to split the difference somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
It was a great play, and he is really aggressive, but he hurt himself because
he's so good though. Like, but I'd like to keep him a few years, and for his sake too, not just selfishly as a fan.
No, he is really good.
Yeah.
And so his loss is going to hurt. But I mean, look, we're going to see the depth that the team has. We already kind of have. I got to tell you, I mean, considering they have 3 starters out on the offensive line for multiple weeks, it's been awesome to see how well they've done.
Right.
So, well, that's about. I think.
So you got a prediction for next week for the Bears game?
Ooh, Bears. This is in Chicago. You know, I don't see the Packers putting up tons of points. I think their offense is still not there. Considering the fact that they have, this is a long-winded answer, but walk you through it. You got 3 offensive linemen out. MVS, I don't know if he's coming back yet. So you got your number 2 wide receiver, your 3 offense. So I think that's not a huge, but that is a reason why their offense is still kind of not humming where it should be. So I think they're gonna. It's hard for them to score 30 points. I think they can, but I'm thinking like 27, 24. It's going to be when you play the Bears. And the Bears are better than we think.
I know.
They have this new quarterback.
I know.
Who is like kind of like athletic, and we suck against athletic quarterbacks.
So I'm the eternal optimist. I'm going to go 24-14.
Okay.
But I agree. Yeah, I don't see them getting 30.
I don't see them scoring 30 points.
And it is optimistic seeing us holding them to 14.
I think we'll win, but what I'm saying is I think we'll win, but I think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
And I don't see us hitting. So could it be 27-20? Sure. Could it be 27-21?
Right.
I picked 24 because it's
sure.
I think it's going to be pretty close, I just don't see us scoring 30. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I just want to feel like we're on the cusp. You know, they tighten a few things up, maybe.
Yeah, and where I can't quite tell is, like I said, when I really haven't thought a whole lot about injuries until the past couple of weeks because I was like, I'm so used to with LaFleur's team since he's been here, they haven't been injured.
Right.
And then when I look back, I'm like, oh, they got a lot of injuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's got to be a reason why they're not completely humming on offense.
Right. Right.
Which is fine. I mean,
but,
that's
Dylan's been great. Jones has been pretty good.
He looks. I'll tell you what. I am stunned at how good he looks catching the ball.
Yeah.
Stunned.
Yeah.
He looks so natural catching the ball.
Yeah. So they have targets. You know, I feel like offensively, kind of like what you said. We should have put up more points last week.
We should have won that game by 10 points.
I mean,
I do.
How are we not moving it down the field? My God.
See, you know what was the epitome of that game? That like a microcosm of the whole game. Rodgers throws that bomb to Devontae Adams right down the seam. Where I made that comment in Slack where it's like Devontae's so quick and so it's like you got to worry about like leading him. You know the way Rodgers can throw the ball that far, but it's like you got to lead him.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect throw, perfect whatever.
Yeah.
It was like a 59-yard pass, I think, right?
Yep.
So in one play they got down to like the 13-yard line, I think, or something was, and then they couldn't punch it in.
Right.
And I'm like, because I think that what they did, they pass, and it was like, they're not very good running the ball right now, just like between the tackles and like when Dylan and or Jones do make hay running the ball, typically it's when they bounce it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's a product of having 3 offensive line starters now.
Sure.
They're just not averaging much.
So they're just going to have to deal with that. You know? I mean, I don't know. I mean, other teams are going to see that film. So, I mean, I think they're just going to have to.
I hope they do have more wrinkles. I haven't seen a whole lot of, and this could be again because of injuries. You know, it's like you don't see a lot of motion. You don't see a lot of deception on the offense. It looks like they're doing a lot of like, I'm not going to say it's McCarthy stuff, but
it's a little meat and potatoes.
It's very vanilla.
Yeah,
it's very vanilla.
So I would like to see a little more of that, But there again, Rodgers even made the point, like, you got some new guys in there. Maybe they couldn't.
That's entirely possible.
So.
I just hope, look, I think the whole damn organization, top to bottom, knows this is it.
I know.
This is it.
so
they better not leave.
You got them.
They better not leave any bullets in the chamber.
Right? Yeah.
Any.
Yeah.
Because after this, I firmly believe Rodgers is gone after this year. Yeah. He's going to be traded somewhere. They'll get picks or whatever, but they're going to trade him, and then they're in cap hell. They're going to have to cut and or restructure. This team's going to look so different next year. So it's like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. Wow, way to end it on a high note.
I think they can do it. I just hope they don't get. I hope they don't get tentative. And if I don't want to see them. It's like sometimes you get the feeling that like coaches are like, "Oh, I don't like using deception or using trickery,
right? Because
it's like cheap." And it's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
you shouldn't care.
No,
at all.
No, what difference does it make? Use what works.
I mean, Brady would run so much trick crap.
Oh yeah,
the Patriots. I remember, like they would do flea flickers and all this stuff. It was like
he still does.
I think I saw the Patriots played us a couple years ago, and I think they ran more trick plays in one game against us than I saw McCarthy run in his entire tenure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And it's just like,
yeah.
To me, I look at that. I'm just like,
yeah.
And then people make the argument, they're like, why should you have to run trick plays if you have Aaron Rodgers? I'm like, why not? Why not? It's a lame excuse. So
yeah, why would you not want to protect the GOAT if he's the GOAT?
Well, protect them, but also just like put fear in their hearts to be like, they have Aaron Rodgers and they're running trick plays?
Yeah. Right. That's how I do it. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Well, yeah, I got nothing else. So, go pack go.
Podcast. Chair. I know, right?